Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan Maiden.
But what's more impressive to me about the
Chase Thornton.
I got him.
Chris Dowhouse.
Get him, Chase. Get him, Chase.
And Adam.
No, not necessarily, but it's again the same.
Don't hope to win. Be great and dominate.
Woo! We're back at it again here in Operation Domination, live on this Thursday night at 8:30, baby. Thanks for checking us out live on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out Fantasy Football Advice Network at FF Advice Network on YouTube and everywhere else on social media. You can also download and follow the Operation Domination podcast on your favorite podcast app. We're available to you everywhere. We're a little bit light in the crew. We should hopefully have Chris in a few moments. We do have Chase here. Adam's on vacation. It is June after all. But we got a great show in store for you guys here today, talking about the AFC North, continuing on our team profile series as we transition out of Dynasty football into your redraft leagues. A little best ball sprinkled in here and there. And today's show has a very special guest that we need to introduce. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, Mr. Fantasy Expo himself, the author of the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide, the one, the only, Mr. Bob Long!
Wow. My wife doesn't even get that excited to see me. That's damn impressive.
You don't get your own entrance music, just walk into the bedroom.
Can you give me that recording so I can play that every time I come home?
I absolutely can. We can get you an easy button. That was easy button. We can get that recording for you as soon as you walk in your room.
That over. I'm just gonna play it on my phone and then hold it inside the door as I walk in from work.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks for taking the time to come on. How you been?
Doing great, man. I'm so excited that you guys are part of the Fantasy Football Advice Network. My good friend here, Tyler Bradley, and the title sponsor of the Fantasy Football Expo 2024. Love you guys. Love Fantasy Football Advice Network. Love Tyler. Love all of you guys. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure. Always an honor to be a part of this show every year. So this is great.
Yeah, this is started what, third year in a row now. I think we've had you on. I think the last two we've had you on for the AFC North. You know, you are a Browns fan, so I try to get it to that. Not that you're not a fantasy football expert for all the other players too, but you know, we like to keep it close to home, and it gives us a good chance to talk about the Expo. So before we dive into the show, what's some of the things going on right now that people should be signing up for that?
So the Expo, yes, the Expo is coming up. It's less than 2 months away, guys. Like,
I know, it's crazy.
My brain's exploding. So yeah, it's coming up August 9th through the 11th, Canton, Ohio. So the cornhole is pretty much full. If you want to put your name in there, do it. We'll put you on the reserve list. But yeah, that filled up pretty quick after my last email. We still need a bunch of teams though for flag football. So get out there, find some teams, put your name out there, use hashtag Expo Flag to get people to recruit you. We can have up to 16 teams. I think right now we're only at 6. Now, I never panic because everybody kind of puts these together last minute. That's fine. You got time, but you also don't have time. So, get a team, put it together. Let's get it rolling. I think there's some room still left in the poker tournament with our good friends from Football Guys, Drew Davenport, Joe Bryant. That is Friday at 1:00. For those who come in early, it's a great time, great atmosphere. Plus, I think you could win, some prizes there, get a bracelet. It's like World Series of Poker, but not as cool.
It's super intense. I was there last year.
Yeah, the first time we have these guys from the tour join us, we'll know it's become that cool. But anyway, for now, it's still a lot of fun, especially if you like to play Texas Hold'em. That's happening, of course. But just get your tickets. The DoubleTree sold out, but there's still a lot of great hotels very close. Most things are at the Hall of Fame Village this year. We still just have the downtown Friday night party, but everything else is at the Dome. So, or at the stadium or somewhere on that campus. So it's not that big a deal if you get a hotel right up the highway. It's probably even closer than being from downtown. So check all that out. Go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com to get your tickets. We won't sell out, can't sell out. We can get 5,000 people if we want, but get your tickets, get it reserved. Time it'll go quick. Next thing you know, it'll be August 1st and we'll be ready to shut down ticket sales. So get them, just get reserved now. Get everybody fired up. Can't wait to be there.
No, I can't wait for you. I'm going to be at the poker tournament again this year. I'm super excited for that. And on Saturday, you guys have something extra going on. You have the betting expo part of this now for this year. So something else people will check out on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep. Sports betting Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. 4 hours of the best experts in the country on sports betting. Every topic you can think of, from parlays to prop bets to to just sports betting 101, responsible gambling, all the great stuff you want to hear about. So that'll be for 4 hours on Saturday. Of course, we have draft night out with Seth Woolcock and the guys from In Between Media. We got the flag football tournament. We got the cornhole tournament. Saturday night party sponsored by Green Gridiron. If you haven't seen those custom helmets that they're making, those are fantastic. Get one of them for yourself. Lots of great stuff. And then, of course, sports fantasy football Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday with, again, all the great topics. All the people will be there. All the top names in the country will be around for the Kings Classic weekend as well. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of great folks. Can't wait.
And then you'll be seeing us work at the Fantasy Football Advice Expo booth that Sunday as well. All right, so we got a lot to get into in this AFC North, but the Expo is a big deal. We wanted to give that a nice shout out. We do have quarterbacks to talk about, and of course we'll go this through division. The AFC North is really stacked with a lot of fantasy relevant quarterbacks. Now at the top, I don't think we're gonna have too much discrepancy, but we do have a little bit of a gap between, I say a little bit of a gap between Chase and Bob here right on the show. Lamar Jackson coming in, and Lamar has been a top 5 quarterback pretty consistently year over year because of his legs. Bob, you have him right at 5. Chase, you have him at 1. Not quite enough for me to make a showdown out of this, but Bob, why do you have him down at 5 there to kind of level out the top tier of quarterbacks?
Well, I know this is going to shock you all, but it's all about consistency. And in this case, the lack thereof. Because Mr. Jackson last year, if I may be so bold to call him that, was ranked 12th at only 63% consistency on the year. So, yeah, 4th in total points looks great. But when not even barely over 60% of the games, he's earning more than 18.5 fantasy points to help your team, I'm not so sure I'm that dead set on that much excitement of him 5th. Now, I could have moved him farther down, but I just feel like, okay, bounce back year, you've got new, there's just a lot of things coming together. With Derrick Henry being there, now they've got a strong running back that allows Lamar to do some more RPOs, maybe get some more rushing yards. So I'm giving him a little bit lower level. I'm hoping he'll get back to his 70-75% consistency that we've been used to. But that's why I have him 5th.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more in line with who you are, Bob. I have him right there at 4. But Chase, you got him up there at number 1, superseding Josh Allen, superseding Jalen Hurts, superseding Patrick Mahomes. What's going on? You think he's doing a flashback to 2019?
Well, it's certainly possible. I will say, yeah, Bob, you just had that out on. You just had your profile out on him 2 days ago on your Twitter feed, and when I saw that, I thought, okay, that might give me a little pause. I might have to revisit that once I do my actual projections, my number projections. But these are my first reaction rankings, and honestly, having him at 1 is more a result probably of my downgrading of Allen, Hurts, and Mahomes due to the questions I have around them coming out of last season and coming into this season than it is necessarily about anything else. Now he is going to be in his 2nd year under Todd Monken's. He did well. He passed more than he ever has before last season. And honestly, he had a great ratio from his touchdowns to his interceptions. He 27-6 there, but I think he can do better than that. I think he can throw more touchdowns than that. He still ran, even though he threw for more than he's ever thrown before, still ran for 821 yards. He was 200 yards clear of Allen, almost 300 yards clear of Hurts. I mean, he still is the premier running quarterback in the league, even if he's throwing the ball all over the place. He should have a healthy Andrews, who we all know is his top target. That's the guy he's looking for. He should get more than 10 games out of Andrews, which will only help those passing numbers, including, like I said, those touchdown numbers there. It was a very interesting consistency profile. I did like reading through that and looking at that when you put that out. I don't like that he's got a week 14 bye. That sucks. Right as you're coming into fantasy football playoff time. They were week 13 bye last season. But like you said, on your as part of your consistency profile, if you got into the playoffs with him as your quarterback, he was pretty damn good the last month of the season or so. He had 4 pretty bang up number jobs there at the end of the season. And listen, he's got a good quarterback schedule in terms of strength of schedule coming out of, from last season's, defensive rankings. But like I said, it's more probably a result of my downgrading of Allen Hurts and Mahomes. Allen, just something looked off with him last season. Now, second half of the season, he didn't turn the ball over as much. And you could argue if he can go a whole season without turning the ball over as much, that should only improve his numbers. Hurts, I think we're all wondering what that's going to look like without Jason Kelce as a center. Mahomes, there's a lot of questions there in Kansas City in terms of Mahomes and his fantasy value. I'm not questioning his value as a number 1 quarterback or the best quarterback in football, but just like I said, the downgrading of those 3 guys, and I can't take them out of the top 4. I wasn't going to do that. I still have them ranked 2, 3, and 4, but that's why I've got Lamar for now ranked up at number 1.
Well, here's when we throw this out there. Rushing wise, yes, yards wise, he is ahead of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. The problem is that he's never had more than 7 rushing touchdowns in a single season. That's been the MO with Lamar Jackson as a runner, is that he doesn't actually score that many touchdowns. Why, when we talk about Derrick Henry a little bit later, why I'm so bullish on him getting, double-digit touchdowns pretty easily this season. And the other aspect of this is, unlike Hurts, unlike Josh Allen, who do consistently get around, Josh Allen in particular, around that 30 touchdown passing mark, Lamar Jackson's only done that once. So that's where I don't have him on the same ceiling plane as those other guys, but I have him rounding out in the top tier. Lamar Jackson, can't really go too wrong with him. Before we get to Joe Burrow, Chris is finally in the building. What's up, Chris?
I'm doing okay. Sorry to apologize. Cats don't understand that you have your schedules to keep. So when they decide to fight each other, it's the kind of something you have to kind of take priority over. They can't have a cat fight necessarily in the background of a podcast.
That could have been good airtime.
If I would be able to videotape it, maybe that'd be great airtime.
As long as I didn't whack your laptop off the table, I think we'll be all right. Speaking of cats, we got Bengals in the house. So Joe Burrow here, he comes in. We got him kind of spread out along the board. Bob's the highest on all of us at number 4. So is it just a question? Because Bob, you and I were both on the same page. We love Joe Burrow. I think we both had him at number 4 last year. Are you just subscribing to the idea that you were a year too early because of the injury, or does that just not concern you at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, he's healthy, he's pacing himself, he's not going out there and trying to be a superstar yet, but he knows what he needs to do. And as you mentioned, in this division, there's a lot of good offenses. There's a lot of points are going to be scored, whether it's they're playing the Browns, Ravens, or Steelers. They're going to have to put up numbers. Their defense is going to be even worse than it was last year. They lost a lot of key players. Whether Higgins is there or not, I don't think that matters. Burrow is going to have to get the ball. Chase could have a monster year without him. But, I just feel like he was there 2 years ago, like you said, 2022, when he was 4th in total points, 3rd in consistency at 81%. I just feel like that's the spot for him for now, unless somewhere in preseason he tweaks that wrist again and now we have problems. But for now, I'm good with him at the 4 spot. But the cool thing is that his ADP is like quarterback 7, pick 58. So that's the thing is I have him ranked there, but I can still draft him in round 6 or 7 or around 6 after I load up on running backs and wide receivers. So that just makes it that much easier.
Well, and that's a very important point that I think you make there, is that there is a difference between what someone has somebody ranked at and where you should be drafting him at. You shouldn't draft him at the number 4 spot. What Bob's pointing out there is he likes him a hell of a lot more in the ADP. So if you want to jump in front of that and grab him, maybe you should for those reasons that he just listed out. Again, guys, rankings, don't be a ranking slave. Chris, you have him down at 9. So are you just a little bit more concerned, or is it just, look, I'm reflecting, baking in the risk that has been the injury bug for him over the past couple of seasons or so, but do you think he still has a high ceiling?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the combination of things that you're saying, Dan. I think it's, I look at the volume as a concern that, this isn't a guy who's going to use his legs necessarily to run. When he had that good season, he talked about when he finished 4, he rushed for 5 touchdown rushes that year. 5 touchdown rushes for Joe Burrow isn't necessarily the norm moving forward. I think you're going to see him using his legs less and less as the injury concerns are something that he's trying to avoid and make sure that didn't happen. We kind of saw that happen with Tua, last year, where he stopped running completely because he was worried about being injured. So I have concerns with Joe Burrow's upside. You need a lot of volume to consistently because, I have Bob on the show because I love consistency, but I think it's really hard to consistently bank on those throwers, getting you those 300 yards, those 2-3 touchdowns game in, game out, especially when you have concerns about what the weapons are going to be, what do you have available for you? Is there going to be some timing issues? That's that offense. I know Joe Burrow was injured starting the season. It was pretty bad to start off at the beginning of the season. So it's a lot of concerns that I still have to see answered before I can be confident Joe Burrow is going to finish higher than 9.
Here's what I will say. The 2 years that Burrow actually played all the way through, both times, 34 and 35 touchdowns passing thrown. I've talked about this ad nauseum already and will continue throughout the summer. When you have a pocket passing quarterback who goes over 32 passing touchdowns, they are a real candidate to be a top 6 quarterback. That's just the marker. It's just how it seems to have worked over the past 5 years in particular. So Burrow, of course, fits that mold. And then I think there's a little Dak Prescott going on. We're going to talk about those running backs a little bit later, but with Zach Moss and Chase Brown, I don't think that's that indifferent from Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle down there in Dallas. And the whole reason we kind of like Dak is because the volume might be insane. Would it shock anybody if Burrow's putting up 38 to 40 pass attempts a game? It would not shock me. So from that standpoint, too, that's where I think the ceiling comes into play. I do have him ranked at 9. I got to see him get through a training camp first before I can go ahead and just pull the trigger on him as a top 5 quarterback. But both arguments I like on both sides. There's one guy that we are pretty much all the same on. We either have him ranked at 21 or 22. It's a far cry. Some people hate him for off the field issues. We try to stick to just fantasy football outlooks here. So Deshaun Watson, he comes in. Chase, you got him at 21. Is there any hope that we get any kind of old Deshaun Watson performance, or at least maybe a little fantasy cheat code who's getting drafted as a low end QB2 now?
I don't think we're ever going to see that top 3-4 type guy that he was several years ago. I think that ship has sailed. However, we did see a couple of flashes last season. He definitely had flashes last season where he looked better than the year before. Year before he was still just getting back into football shape. He hadn't touched the field in 2.5 years. I'd been dilly-dallying too much with his masseuses, but he had a couple of games over 20 last season. He started to look a little bit like a fantasy relevant quarterback, at least. He says he's healthy. He's running around and he claims that his rehab is going really well. He definitely has, with Cooper, they bring in Judy. I'm not a big Judy mark, but at the same time, he shouldn't hurt this receiving core. He still has Chief David Njoku there. I think that the weapons are there still for him. And I think if you want to take him as your number 2 quarterback, if you're in Superflex format, if you're a 2 quarterback format, or if you want to take him as your second quarterback in, say, best ball, since you mentioned that coming into the show here, we could see weeks where he pops off. I don't think he's ever going to look like the 2019 version again, or whatever, from a couple of years ago where he was challenging for MVPs and that, but he's worth a shot as a QB2. I'm not going to put any more faith in him than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this is your team, Bob. What do you think, man?
I would like to hope that we'd all get a happy ending out of this, but I'm not sure we will. Thank you over here all week. Yeah. I think what bothers me the most about Watson over the last couple years is his just lack of just poor attitude. When Burrow was hurt and he sat on the sidelines with the team, tracking the game, following the game, helping Browning. Deshaun Watson was sitting up in the stands, or up in the booth or the boxes or whatever. That's a difference. I'm not saying Watson may not have the physical tools to get it done, but I think what it comes down to is the mental capacity. And does he really want? He's got his money; it's guaranteed. He doesn't care. Can he prove that he does care? I hope so. I'd like to see it happen for the sake of all Browns fans everywhere. But I think that defense proved that they can hold their own. Obviously, they have a great running game, and the sooner Chubb gets back, the better. But they seem to hold themselves okay with that. It comes down to Watson in the passing game. If they can be a viable weapon, then the Browns have a shot. If Deshaun just, plays a few games, tweaks a hamstring, and decides to sit out for 6 weeks, then we're back to, Jameis. I guess we're Jameis Winston now, not even Joe Flacco. To be honest with you, from what I've seen in camp, Winston seems to be pretty fired up about being there and wanting to be part of this team. He's done some videos and some cameos and stuff locally that he's fired up. And I'm like, you know what? Watson doesn't get his shit together in the first 4 weeks. I toss him out, let Winston have a go at it, man. Get somebody in there, wants to win, wants to be, a champion, not
what. And do we really have any doubt at this point right now, based on what we've seen from Watson the last 2 years? Do we have any doubt that Winston could give you similar to Watson right now, physical tool wise?
If he gives us Joe Flacco, we're happy,
right? And yeah, we know the guy threw for 5,000 yards when he had
just
the gig.
Joe Flacco for 9 or 10 weeks. Right. He might throw a few dumb interceptions. I don't know. He hasn't been a full-time starter in a couple of years. But, he certainly has played pretty well in the past, But I just want somebody that cares. I want somebody that wants to win. I want somebody that wants to go out there and put his best on the field to win, not just I'm out there to get $250 million. And that's what I don't see out of Deshaun Watson. It's not a tools problem. It's an attitude problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And kind of to that point, right? So he comes off the suspension, and everybody expected to be rusty, and that's fine. Yeah. But the problem, I think, really comes down to the first 6 games of last year were pretty much identical to the first 6 games that he came back from. So he had a whole offseason, comes back, had about 1,100 yards, 7 passing touchdowns, 6.5 yards per attempt, a 60% completion percentage, 4 to 5 interceptions. And that was pretty much identical from the first 6 weeks to the last 6 weeks of the year before, when he supposedly had an all offseason to get better. So to kind of illustrate that point, that is an issue. It is an issue. Right. Deshaun Watson still runs a little bit. Yeah. So maybe fantasy purposes, he'll be a streamer from that standpoint, but it's not looking great. Chris, help me out with this question with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Does Wilson hold on to the job all season long? He's expected to be the starter week long, but does he hold on to the job all season long?
You're flipping questions me only, Dan. But Justin Fields, I don't know if he's going to keep this job or not. Russell will keep this job all year. I think there's a good chance it's probably going to happen because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about this when this first kind of went down. I'm devastated for what happened to Justin Fields. I think that he's better than people give him credit for. I think when people spent their second pick on for Daniels is the same thing you're going to get in Justin Fields. But anyway, I look at what happened. Russell Wilson got basically guaranteed this job as soon as he got traded to Pittsburgh. Everything I'm hearing, Mike Tomlin made him the guy. He put him in a quote-unquote pole position thing, but it was already basically guaranteed. There was already reports out from Pittsburgh coming that he was going to be the starter this year. And from watching the future play that they had in Pittsburgh and how hard it was for Mike Tomlin to make a change in any kind of capacity, whether it's a coordinator or a quarterback, I have very little faith adding Arthur Smith to this equation, where his quarterback guru, that they're going to play the best guy they should. So I do think Russ is going to be the guy, because I think Pittsburgh's going to be good enough to be in contention most of the year. Unless he gets injured, I think there's going to be really hard for Justin Fields, who I think is more talented and should be the starter, to get on the field to be able to show that.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say Justin Fields is definitely going to start at some point, but you do make a good point. The Steelers are always in contention. As long as they're in contention, they may not rock the boat. So I don't disagree with you on that. That as long as he doesn't get hurt, it may just be, unfortunately, I think Russell Wilson all year long.